So, welcome back to another deck profile video. Today's deck is rather exciting because I haven't played Hexeblaumon in a while. So let's cover this deck with the EX7 latest support. It actually does a few nutty things. So just going to dive straight in. In regards to the eggs, you don't have to run 5, but I do, just purely out of spite really. But we run a one-off of Bukamon from BT14. Essentially, it's restricted for a reason, but its inherited effect is whilst your opponent has no Digimon with more Digivolution cards than this Digimon gains jamming. There is a wording errata, essentially it's as many or fewer. But yeah, just a decent one-off nonetheless. Next up, we run a 4-of Hexeblaumon. So we've got, this is the new egg from EX7 for blue. When attacking once per turn, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards, you draw 1 card. So it's just a bog standard egg really, just to make sure that you draw the cards that you need. So yeah, I'm playing 5 in total just to get things rolling really. In terms of the level 3s, we are running, I think it's 12 in total, maybe a little bit more, but we'll soon see. But to start with, we're running 2 of the Tamers from EX7. This one has an all turns effect if players can't reduce play costs. Namely, I'm just playing this because there's quite a few decks out there that like to play cards for essentially 0 or reduced costs, not calling out ancient hybrids, but hey ho. But yeah, just a standard 2-of just to sort of stun or stall my opponents really from doing some crazy stuff. So we'll run these over here. Next up, we're running 4-of the new Bukamon from EX7 again. Essentially, with this card, this is your searcher for the deck. On play, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with PeriTune or Hexeblaumon in its name, and 1 card with the Ice Snow trait among them to the hand. Return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Its inherited effect is when attacking once per turn, but you trash the top Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon. It's essentially your turn 1 play. So yeah, we like to see 4 of those in the deck just to make sure that you get it in hand at the start of the game. Next up, we're running just a 2-of Snow Agu from EX7 as well. Now this one comes with a new effect called Iceclad. Now if you're not familiar with this, it's essentially, other than against security Digimon, you compare the number of Digivolution cards instead of DP in this Digimon's battle. So it can kill pretty much anything that's only 1 card with no sources if you've got the egg underneath. So again, another turn 1 or turn 2 killer, but yeah, very, very funky. But we're only running a 2-of instead of the 4, just because whilst it is strong, it's not necessarily super strong, not in my opinion anyway. But its inherited effect is also quite handy. You've got a when attacking once per turn, trash the top Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon, a lot like Beluko. So yeah, we're just making sure that we continue to trash cards really every turn. So we'll see how it all plays out in the long run. And then lastly, now this is just a personal choice really, but I'm running a 4-of Gomamon from BT14. There are a lot of other level 3s that you could consider for this, but for me, just personally, just running a 4-of of this is pretty good. You know, start of main effect, trash any 1 Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon, then this Digimon can't be blocked for the turn. So that kind of kills out most decks nowadays being unable to block. Its inherited effect as well as an opponent's turn effect, but when this Digimon would be deleted, you can play this from its Digivolution cards without paying the cost. So at least you're essentially setting up for the next turn should that happen. Moving on to our level 4s. Again, another preference really for personal choice, but we're running 2 of the Magnemon from the starter deck 17 from, I think it's the Advanced Terriermon set. It's got a security effect, de-digivolve 1 Digimon, and then at the end of the battle, one of your Digimon may digivolve into this card without paying the cost. It comes with blocker, comes with armor purge. It also has a when digivolving effect, but you trash the top Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon for each of that Digimon's colors, and then return one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards back to the hand. So it goes very well against multicolored decks, which seems to be the trend at the moment. Again, thanks to hybrids. But yeah, it's just a solid 2-off to have, especially if you do see it in security and you naturally have potentially the Gomamon in play. Next up, we're running 2 of PeriTune from EX3. So we are going back quite a few sets. When Digivolving, you choose one Digivolution card under one of your opponent's Digimon and you trash it. Its opponent's turn inherited effect is when an opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards will Digivolve, you can increase the Digivolution cost by 1. So it can catch your opponents off guard. It does happen, and it's actually quite funny. Next up, we run a 4 of PeriTune from EX7. Is your OCD killing you? Because it is with me. I'm not lining up with these memory setters here. But the EX7 PeriTune, so this has a when Digivolving effect of trashing the bottom 2 Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards, this Digimon will gain jamming and blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. And much like most of the other cards in this deck, the inherited effects are when attacking once per turn, you trash the top Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon. So it's a good 4-off to have anyway, because it will naturally confirm that your Digimon will have jamming or and blocker until the end of your turn. So it's a very, very good 4-off to have in this deck. Next up, lastly for our level 4s, I'm only running 2 Kumamons from BT7, essentially hybrid for game, but the main reason why we're choosing this one is because of its when Digivolving effect. You trash one Digivolution card from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So yeah, it's just a good 2-off to have, I think, in this deck. You could run a blue hybrid lineup in this, and it could probably do some really stupid stuff, but I'd save that until the BT18, 19, and 20 kind of stuff comes out, because then that's where this deck's going to get really, really funky. In our ultimate levels now, so level 5s, just starting with a 4-off of PeriTune from EX7. So again, this is some new support for this deck. It comes with the Ice Clad ability, which I think is a lot stronger for the level 5 than it is the Snow Agu. But when Digivolving, you trash any 2 Digivolution cards under your opponent's Digimon. Then, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards, this Digimon will unsuspend. Additionally, it has an inherited effect, but it's a your turn effect only. Whilst your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards, this Digimon will gain... this Digimon with the Ice Snow trait gains piercing and security attack +1. So it's a very good card to have in this, and it's ultimately what you want to be seeing in your stack when you get up to your level 6s. Next up, I'm running this. I haven't seen too many people bring this back, but it's my plan to. So I'm running 3 of the Pseudomon Ace from BT14. It's a 4 cost to play. I know it's an ace card and it will probably die the next turn, thanks to the current way the game is, but ultimately it's still a very good card for this deck type. It has both an on-play and when Digivolving effect. You trash any 2 Digivolution cards from your opponent's Digimon, then return one of their Digimon with no Digivolution cards back to the hand. So it is still a solid card to have. So you could swap it out for the other PeriTune from, I think it's BT5. But personally for me, this card is just too good not to throw into this. Next up, we have our Mega levels. I'm only running 6 in total. And it feels kind of dirty the way I'm sort of playing this level 6 card. But I'm running a 2 of Hexeblaumon Ace. Again, as you can see, there's a bit of a trend going on now. But naturally, it has a on-play and when Digivolving effect. You Digivolve 2, one of your opponent's Digimon, then none of their Digimon with 1 or fewer Digivolution cards can suspend until the end of the turn. It also has a when attacking effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 1 or fewer Digivolution cards. Again, you can just hard play this for a cost of 7. It's a good defensive card to have for this deck. I'm finding currently in testing is actually a very solid card for this deck. However, the boss monster of this deck is our new Hexeblaumon from EX7. So, what more to say that this card is just stupidly strong. But it comes with security attack +1. It also comes with Ice Clad. So in battles, you're ultimately going to win because of all the trash effects that you basically climb up with. But when Digivolving, you trash any 4 Digivolution cards under your opponent's Digimon. Then if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards, you return one of the Tamers to the bottom of the deck. So it also has an opponent's turn effect, but none of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer Digivolution cards as this Digimon can suspend. Now, the fact that it's just not worded for it to not attack, instead just saying you can't suspend, is just stupidly insane. I always find those kinds of effects are always incredibly strong anyway, because it essentially just stalls your opponent blindly. But yeah, this is a solid 4-off to have. If you're playing anything less, I think it'd be silly, but it's just, yeah, it's a bonkers card, and you can understand why people are running it. Now, moving on to our Tamers, I'm starting with BT5, Sora and Joe. We're playing 3 of them. As a start of your turn effect, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, you gain 2 memory. It also has a your turn effect, but when you would attack with a blue Digimon, you may suspend this Tamer to trash up to 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. Security effect is naturally to play this card without paying the cost. This is a very good Tamer just generally for this type of deck, because you're always going to be trashing cards, and essentially in theory, you'll always have the fact that your opponent will probably have a Digimon in play with no sources, gaining that precious 2 memory. I was running this at 2, but found it was just too good of a card not to have often, so I opted to run 3, and it seems to be doing the trick so far. Next up, I'm bringing back an old card that I haven't played in a while, but Tomihime. We're running a 2-of. Security effect, naturally you can play this without paying the cost. On play, you trash the 3 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. For a free cost, naturally you're not going to be passing turn, as opposed to playing the 4 cost with Sora and Joe. But also at the same time it comes with an inherited effect should you decide to Digivolve using the hybrids. When attacking once per turn until the end of your opponent's next turn, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack or block. I'm finding this card is actually quite beneficial for this deck. In testing, certainly it's coming up. And it's just a solid 2-off to run because they do pop up. But yeah, it's just nice to bring this card back after so long because it's, it was restricted and then eventually it got unrestricted and everyone started getting him back. But then the new hybrid stuff doesn't really use him, or not that I've seen anyway. Next up, and our last set of Tamers, we're running 2 of Joe Kido from BT14. I'll be honest, this card is good, but I think it's, I don't know, it's missing something. But on play again, you trash any 1 Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon, and then a your turn effect, when a Digivolution card of an opponent's Digimon is trashed, by suspending this Tamer you gain 1 memory. Security effect, you naturally just play this card. Now, it's just, I was running 3 of this, because initially I took out, so it was a 2 of Sora and Joe, 3 of the Joe Kido. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not convinced by that card. I could easily swap those out and throw in 2 BT3 Davis and Motomiya. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still messing around with this, but at the moment this is how I'm kind of enjoying playing it at the moment. But yeah, it's one of those could replace it easily kind of cards, or you stick with it and just stick with it in the long run. Lastly, we have our option cards. Now, I'm actually running quite a few for obvious reasons, because this deck needs a bit of either a delay or a bit of a boost to finding the pieces you need. So the first card we're running is EX1's Ice Wall, which is understandably restricted. Main effect, all of your opponent's Digimon gain when attacking lose 2 memory until the end of their turn. Security effect, you gain 2 memory. It's just a decent card to throw into the mix. Again, it's one of those cards you could easily take out if you chose to. And you could probably find something else to swap it in with. However, for me, it's decent just to have a bit of a throwback. And this card is still pretty strong anyway. So yeah, we're just running the 1 naturally because we have to. Next up, we're running a 2 of EX3's Sorai. I think this card is underappreciated personally. I don't see it nearly often enough nowadays. But it's a 4 cost to play. You trash the top 4 Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then until the end of their turn, your opponent can't. Your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack. So it's a very, very good card in my book. It's decent for going up against wide boards as well. Hexeblaumon, Diaboromon, etc. And it essentially just delays your opponent, which is nice. The one techie card I'm throwing into the mix, because naturally this deck you could throw in all sorts of blue option cards at the moment, but for me, it's a 1 of Howling Crusher from BT1. Oh yeah, we're going all the way back to the original set now, but it's a 7 cost to play. Could be 6 or 5 if you have the Joes in play. But its main effect is you trash all Digivolution cards under all of your opponent's Digimon. A security effect, you naturally activate the main effect. I just think this is a really, really good card for this deck. And especially if you find yourself on the back for most of the game, you could ultimately play this card and suddenly find yourself back in the game. So yeah, for me, it's a decent 1 to have. I would love to run a 4 but I think I'd be taking the mick a bit. So we'll keep it at 1 for now. Next up, 2 of Blue Men Boost. These are cheap as chips at the moment. So if you haven't got any memory boosts, I suggest you go out and get some. But the main effect, you reveal the top 4 cards of the deck. You add 1 blue Digimon card among them to the hand. Then you place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Then you place this card in your battle area. It has a delay effect, you gain 2 memory. And the security effect is that you play this card into the battle area. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it helps you find your pieces. And lastly, we run 2 of the mental training cards. Again, you know, it's self-explanatory. In this case, however, you reveal the top 2 cards from your deck and you add 1 blue card among them to the hand. You then bottom deck the other one. Then you place this in your battle area. And then its delay effect in this case is that you reduce the next Digivolution card, as long as it's a blue Digimon, by 2. But yeah, I mean, you could mix and match the option cards, absolutely no problem whatsoever. You could run a 4 of mental training perhaps instead of running a 2 of the blue men boost as well. But there are so many like cards you could throw into this deck and just mix and match. It's understandably not a meta deck. It is strong. It's a lot stronger than it was. But once the new sort of hybrid support comes out in BT18 and 19 with the whole red blue combo, this deck suddenly goes a bit nuts. But it becomes less of a Hexeblaumon deck and more of a hybrid deck. So I know I've thrown in quite a few different types of cards into this, but it's just to try and make it a little bit stronger than it could be, or it would have been if it was just a pure type. But no, I'm having fun with it at the moment. It's really good fun. Trashing sources is just stupid sometimes, and naturally you can continue to stall the opponent for as long as you want until you get what you need and start swinging at security, etc. But that's literally it. That is my 50 card deck for Hexeblaumon, plus the 5 eggs. But now normally I would recommend cards at the end of the video. However, I'm going to end the video here, and what I'll do is I'll just post a list up of cards that you could throw in as alternatives. So check them out at the end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. If you like the video, hit that little thumb up or thumbs up icon. If you've got any comments that you'd like to share about this deck, or if you've got any texts of your own, throw them in underneath the video. I'll be keen to read them as always. And for all I know, I might even take your advice and take out some of my own cards and throw some in. And then naturally, if you're not subscribed to the channel at all, just go ahead and subscribe. Ring that bell notification just so you know when the next videos come out. All the support is appreciated. But yeah, so I think the next deck profile video is going to be a Hexeblaumon profile, now that I've got all the pieces for that. So we'll see how that one goes, but hopefully that'll be next week or the week after. But yeah, thank you again for watching and take care.